Hello and welcome into the KE Report. I'm your host, Shad Markwitz, and we're getting an update today from Silver Tigre Metals, traded on the TSXV under the ticker SLVR, and on the OTCQX under the ticker SLVTF. We're joined today with the president and CEO of Silver Tigre Metals, Glenn Jessome, and this is going to be a different interview than we normally do just because we're going to dive into the situation on the ground in Mexico. There's been a lot of hearsay, Glenn. There's been a lot of pontification from the media about what was going to happen when the regime change happened in Mexico. Really, yesterday was day one of a new administration. I'd just like to get your candid thoughts on what you think the lay of the land is for mining in Mexico.
Well, Shad, first of all, it's great to see you. I mean, I don't know if we ran by each other two or three times when we were at Beaver Creek at the Precious Metals Summit, but great to see you there. And we were both doing our thing. And thank you for interviewing with respect to this. I think it's really important. And we'll talk about it a little bit at the end. We always talk about El Tigre, and we've always said we'll do all the work to build the next great silver mine. And so far, we've done everything we've said. I like to remind people we've done everything we said, and in very quick time. We'll talk about that later. But, for the last couple of years, it's been tough in Mexico for sentiment for silver miners, explorers, developers. The producers are doing great. Boy, oh boy. Look at Silvercrest, a silver producer there, almost 2 billion market cap. I in Morocco on the silver side. If you're producing silver, boy, you're killing it. They're at 2.2 billion. So, when I grow up, I always like to say, and I say it to them, my peers, we would have ran into them both at Denver, pretty close to joining that party, guys, and it's going to be fun. But let's talk about Mexico. Things get overdone. First of all, Silver Tiger had great success in the past 6 years when President Obrador was in charge. We raised 100 million bucks. 75 million of that bought in the last couple of years, straight up, no warrants, from the smartest financial institutions that invest in precious metals on the planet, supported by every investment bank that's basically in the resource game for small companies. And we used it well to be today in a position where for our open pit, we're shovel ready almost, and the underground pretty well ready to deliver in the next 6 to 8 months, the PEA to do the same exact thing for the underground, which will go for, in our opinion, decades. So, I'm not going to say it was terrible for us. What was terrible for us, or not terrible is a terrible word, pardon the pun on that. It was difficult because sentiment was so bad. And we've been in Mexico for 30 years. We think Mexico is the best mining jurisdiction. That for us, it's certainly been that way. 1, 2, 3 mines built, 2 sold to majors, the group over that period. And we absolutely love being there. And so we've had the same success through this period in developing our project as we've had for decades. But the sentiment was hard, and thus a company which several years ago was trading at more than 2 times the market cap it is now, after moving the project 1,000 miles ahead, de-risking it, and you still get punished because the sentiment went away. We're seeing that change. Just look at our stock performance over the last month or so. We haven't come out with substantial news. We've been going to some of the shows, but from my perspective, our sentiment coming back, and we think it's going to be more. Look, I'm going to say one thing. For 3 years, I've been interviewed by you and many, many others. I've talked to many shareholders, and I've had many debates, and this is the gist of it. Glenn, what an amazing project. It's going to make so much money. The economics on it are off the charts. Just the pit, the underground will be even better and longer. But it's too bad you're never going to build it because the administration are going to totally ban open pits. And I logically, because I don't know how people think or what they're going to do, but logically, if you looked at what was said, if you looked at the economics with respect to 150 million silver ounces that are made in Mexico, 70% of them come from open pits. Probably not going to be able to get rid of that fully because you'll decimate the industry. So on a logical basis, I said, no, we think that we are going to be able to build this pit. The one point I will say is it was always Mr. Obrador who was going to ban them. And the inauguration took place yesterday, and we have a new president as of yesterday, and there has been no changes to any of the rules with respect to open pit mining in Mexico. None. So that's a fact as of today. Okay. We'll see what happens going forward. But I was really living in the box that, come the end of that administration, that would be gone. It's not. So let's just put the facts on the table. I love the Americans always use the fake news. I'm not saying it was fake news. There were lots of statements made by the administration, what they may or may not do, and all kinds of different things. But from my perspective, the press reported it as though it was already done, which was very difficult for us. And because that's, as you know, that's look, they control elections, they control all kinds of different things with respect to the information they put out, rightly or wrongly. And so we were tainted with that. And it hurt sentiment. That has been removed. And you can see the sentiment coming back already. So that's door number one. What do we think is going to happen? Look, we enjoyed every administration we worked under in Mexico. We had great success under President Obrador. He was the very popular, big victory he won, did so many good things for Mexico. And we moved our project with $100 million to the point we're ready to build it. So perfect. We have no complaints. Stock price should have been better. Secondly, now we're ready to get going and build and develop the underground. So what's the next 6 years look like? Look, we can only go on. She gave her inauguration speech yesterday. I have a transcript of it. I have had some of it translated. And people can go look at the news too. Just Google what was said. And one of the lead headlines in most of the stories, which came off the page at me from her speech, was very simply, foreign investment in Mexico is safe. Big statement. We're foreign investors. Our group is, I think it's almost $2 billion now since the group has been there for almost 30 years. We're a Canadian management company that deals with raising the money, the regulations to be public, all of the reporting. But make no mistake, that capital all goes back into Mexico. And we're really a Mexican company because the hundreds of people who work for us down there and the thousands over the years have been Mexicans. So from our perspective, we are foreign investors, which bring great benefit to Mexico. And we've always been rewarded for that by being able to be successful there. And then our shareholders are rewarded as we build mines or sell them to majors through all those years. That being said, what a statement for us. Your investment, $125 million for Tigre right now. That was the president said that yesterday. I'm listening to it. She's saying it to the world. Your foreign investment is safe. Wow. Okay, great. And furthermore, we need more foreign investment and it will be safe. So that's fantastic. She laid out her plan yesterday. I think it's very important to note in that plan, there was nothing about changing anything with respect to mining. There was really nothing spoken very much about with money, some green energy stuff, but really nothing with respect to mining. So we are looking very forward to operating under this administration. I think I may have said these things before. We thought it was a very positive, as the entire market, I think, in the world thought, when Marcelo Ebrard was appointed as what they call Minister of the Economy. He's a very pro-business individual, very savvy in business. He was the person who basically negotiated the Canada-US Free Trade Agreement. He'll do the renegotiation of that three-party agreement here in, I think it's 2026. And, we followed his speeches as not now. I haven't seen any since the inauguration, since he's basically become the minister. We'll watch those closely. But all the way along, he kept saying the same sort of message we heard yesterday. And we watched some of his speeches. Foreign investment is very important to us. The Canada-US Mexico Free Trade Agreement is of utmost importance to us. The benefits we will get from nearshoring are very important. Rule of law, all of these very important messages that seem to be coming and being reiterated from the new administration. So look, we're excited. We're moving forward. And we think that, it's a very monumental thing. Like I'm very impressive. Claudia Sheinbaum, President Sheinbaum, won such a big majority. And it's not lost on anyone that she's the first female president of Mexico. What a wonderful thing. I mean, basically that she steps forward to lead that country and what we think is could be an economic boon in the next 6 years with all of the opportunities that Mexico has from nearshoring, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, massive foreign investment. We're just looking forward to another very successful 6 years under this administration, like we had with the last administration and the one before that and the one before that. And we do think from the messaging we're seeing, and the investors are always the smartest ones. I can give you my opinion. It's an educated opinion because we pay very close attention to what's going on in Mexico. Doesn't mean I'm smarter than anyone else. We just look at the facts, in a logical way, say that's what we think. And we've always said we thought he wouldn't get rid of open pit mining. We were correct on that. We see very good messaging from her that it's going to be good going forward for foreign investors. That's who we are, even though we're a Mexican company, but we do raise money all over the world to invest in Mexico as foreigners. So we think it's going to be better. And you can listen to me and not believe me or not. The market figures things out, and you can look across the board now with Mexican silver stocks, even some of the ones that were so dead since 2020, who really got hurt by this because, there were companies that happened to. We didn't miss a beat. We just kept raising as much money as we needed and spending it and go as fast as we could to get where we are today. We'll talk about that in a minute. But even those companies are now getting a breath of life, and you can see it coming back. And I think that those investors are doing the homework, and they're seeing that sentiment changing. And that's going to be so good for Mexico and so good for companies like ours.
Well, Glenn, I think you're right. It's been a difference like night and day on the sentiment just the last month or two, and we've seen
Yes.
that change. And it's been across the board. Most of the Mexican companies, whether they were open pit or underground, were punished disproportionately to the rest of the market. And you see it turning around. But I would imagine there's people listening to us right now and listening to what you just said, and they're still skeptical. They still don't believe it. And rightly so. There's been a lot of, information floating around the last couple of years. I guess it's going to come down to seeing permits actually issued. And we haven't seen a lot of permits for a lot of things in Mexico, mining related. What do you think the timeline is to start seeing more mining projects, start getting permits, not just for open pit, but just permits across the board?
Very important point. And I guess, the proof's in the pudding. Is that the saying? So from my side, we talk about the same things. We talk about as re-rating potentials here. And I'll talk about our project here at the end, just how we see re-rating coming in particular to us. But look, the re-rating is sentiments back. We're going to, we think, continue to get very strong messaging from the Mexican government, pro foreign investment, pro business, and that will help. It doesn't matter who gets that first permit, and it's going to come. It's going to come, okay? I hope it's me, but that's a little joking there. It will float all boats, because not only was it, and the fake news, and it's a terrible word to use, I just use it because I hear it so much with your US election going on down there, is that basically, not only did it get overdone on there'll be no open pits, it's going to be totally banned. It's gone. Mr. Obrador, President Obrador, former President Obrador, was going to do that. But then it got even crazier. They're going to get rid of all mining. There'll be no mining permits for anyone, even underground. So it went so far. I mean, we were beat down so much, all the Mexican companies. It was painful. But for us, we didn't need to raise money in the last year and a half, and we don't need to now. So basically, we were fortunate on that. But that first one's going to come. And then they're going to go, oh, so let's say it's an underground permit. Okay, well, I was wrong about that. So they're going to do underground. But they're still going to say, someone's got to get that open pit permit. And then the whole page is turned. And we're very comfortable that we're going to get all the permits we need in the next year, 2 years, 5 years, and our project's a 10, 20, maybe 30-year project, 10, 20, or 30. So as we always have been in Mexico and have got everything, pretty well all permits we've ever gone for. We think it's just a matter of time and waiting. And that first one, do I expect it right away? You got to remember what happens in Mexico here. You got to understand that the whole government changes. Okay. So not only does the president come in, but we've got basically a brand of ministers and all of their staffs underneath. They have to be all staff now. Everything changes. So now you got to think about that. It's day one. Okay. We're going to start doing stuff. Wait now. We need to hire 25 people. We need this person. We need this person. Who's sitting in what desk? Where's your office? So I need a computer. Like, these are just normal things that you would do if you were starting a business or growing a business or moving a business. So there's going to be some transition time. It's October. We're going to get into quickly the end of the year. Could we see one this year? Maybe. Am I going to sit here and say, you're going to see a permit this year? No, because I think they're going to need some time to get on the ground, get the Minister of Economy working, get SEMERNET working, get the mining, all of these ministries working again, because everybody's gone. There's no, oh, here's the new guy and here's the team. It's complete change. So that's going to take some time. So I would say you're going to see that. Could it be early next year? That would be my guess. It's a guess. But when it happens, either way, boy, is it going to lead to a re-rating of Mexico again, because now the proof's in the pudding, as we started with.
Yeah, and I think once anybody gets one of those permits, it's going to be an across the board aha
Game over.
moment for the rest of the people on the fence. And so for those that are skeptic and still waiting, I guess they can wait a little longer. Maybe it takes the beginning of next year or something like that. But let's talk about the plan here, because in addition to the open pit side of things, which you do have economic studies coming down the works, you still
Sure.
have the whole underground portion of this, Glenn. So it's a monster project above ground with the open pit, and then it transitions down to the underground. Walk us through the sneak preview of what's coming in the next couple months.
So sneak preview, we've got at this thing hard since 17 when I acquired it, right? What are we, 24 now? So 7 years, let's call that. The average mining project in the world, this is facts, from first drill hole average to get it in production is 13 years, way ahead of the game already. Okay. So we've now drilled over 100,000 meter into our second 100,000 meter drill results on just on El Tigre since then, drilling. We've basically, I think it's well over 100 million through that period, 75 really from those institutions the last several years to get the project done. Still got a nice chunk of change in the bank. Want everybody to know that $8 million. I told everybody we get to PFS with 10. I was off $2 million, so pretty close, but no pressure. So now I can let things come at us a little bit. So, with all that being said, open pit first, easier, capex friendly, get that in production. That's how we've always done our projects because you need that cash flow. Underground mining in Mexico, narrow vein, it's hard, really hard. It's expensive, the development. So you need to basically get out in front on your development, which costs a lot of money, and then you need to build your plan. So the plan always has been open pit. It's about a 12-month build. Okay. You'll see, I think we say 18 months in the PFS. We think we can do it faster, but we're going to be conservative when you see that come out. Driven that, done another 30,000 meters of drilling over the spring, did all the geotechnical, all the metallurgical work. That's all going to culminate very soon, next couple of weeks, and I've told everybody that, I think I've even press released that, with that PFS being released. Pay attention to it. That's a document that we think, in our experience, that because of the way it's shaped up, because of how much ore we've been able to delineate as indicated and measured and indicated, we're going to be able to use that with the lenders, funders to build it. And that's it. So call that, I'm the word they use, shovel ready for the open pit, imminent. Everybody should tear that apart. And you know what we should do when that comes out? We should get back on here and I'll just do a deep dive in that. Compare it. We get the PEA. Here's where we are. Here's what it's going to be. The one key is it's going to be low capex and it's going to drive incredible yearly cash flow. And that cash flow is what you need to attack the underground. So that's done with a bow on it, put it on the shelf. We can build on that. We're going to have to wait for a permit. I don't think we're getting our permit amendment. Remember, we're up permitted for underground, 800 tons per day. It's an amendment. We're not getting that. Look, I'll be shocked. I'll be surprised. It's not probably going to happen before Christmas. We're going to be paying close attention on where that is in the process first half of next year. Boom. But we can't stop. Remember, open pit is one. Underground, we got the veins, we got the shale and the sulfide. We'll dive into that a little bit more on that next one. But what I want is first half of 2025. Remember, I got to get the open pit built, and when that's done and generating cash, I got to be ready for the underground. So PEA, write this down, everybody. First half of next year on the underground, matching up with the 800 ton per day mill I already have on site and which I'm permitted for. In order to do that, I need to do some more work. We've done a lot of the work, metallurgical work. We got a lot of the bench work done. But what did everybody love about Tigre when I was trading at a $250 million market cap? I didn't have PFS. I didn't have any of the economic. People love in a good market drill results. So finally, I'm not going to be putting out 100 meters of a gram in a pit. That is incredible, a gram of gold. Nobody cares, man. It's like we care. It's going to show in that PFS. So we're going to get back underground. We did all that work. We're underground. And those 600-meter holes that we were drilling into the underground, showing the vein, the shale, and the sulfide, they're going to become 150, 200-meter holes. And we're getting right back at that. That's the key to having that $8 million in the bank right now. I don't stop. So we're back to exploring. Drills are being mobilized right now. Going to get them turning. And before this fall, we're going to see some of those lovely high-grade vein, shale, and sulfide interceptions. Now, that's going to be great. The market loves that, but remember why I'm doing that. I need that. We need to move a bunch of inferred to indicated. We're going to slice that up with shorter holes because I got to dump that in the PEA for the underground first half of next year. But it's going to be nice to be doing that and having that activity. So that's the next. So look, I'm going to do a time frame. These are guesstimates. People want to write it down if they want to and see if we can get it. It's going to depend on the permit. Let's just say everything, and I'm making these up. These are not real dates. But let's just say I get back exploring, I get back drilling holes, high grade results. It's going to be great. PFS done with a bow on it. It's going to be good. We'll build on that, park that until I get the permit. PEA first half on the underground of next year. Let's just say end of March. I'm making this date up. I get the amended permit for the open pit. Okay. So Francisco Albalez, best open pit mine builder, we think, in Mexico, joined us a year and a half ago, did all those massive big built, developed, permitted, and built and ran the two big Argonaut open pits. Before he joined us, we were able to get him to leave and come with us. 12 to 18 months to build. So let's just say we start in March. I'm able to get the money. I'm pretty comfortable I will on the economics of this thing. Have that all lined up in January. That's my goal anyway, no matter when I get the permit. So it takes us to the summer of 2026, because it's 25 we start. And it's built. I'm losing PEA numbers because I can't talk about PFS, but at today's prices, that pit would generate 80 million USD free cash flow. That's a lot of money. So then I got to be ready with the underground because I got to pay some of my debt back, but I want to use that money to build that 800 ton per day mill and develop into the underground body. I'm not ready yet. PEA one step by first half of 2025 and keep on drilling. It's not going to stop. Do the work and move that to PFS or maybe feasibility by summer of 2026. Pit making 5 million silver equivalent ounces a year. Tack that underground and build it. And a year later, you wake up and you're a 10 million ounce producer. Very high profitable mine. That's the game plan. That's always been the game plan. Can I guarantee that's going to happen? No, but I can tell everybody everything we said we'd do until today and until the release of that PFS, we've done. So in my mind, you just got my game plan right to 27. If everything goes according to plan, we got both of them in underground and pit in production, and this is a wonderful long life project because the underground will just keep going. Now, I can't tell you it's for sure we'll start with 10 years ahead of us or 12 or 15, but we're just gonna keep drilling it. Like we think that's one of those big districts which could be like most of them are in Mexico, 10, 20, 30-year life. So lots ahead of us. That's the plan. It's always been the plan.
Well, Glenn, I appreciate you giving us the roadmap of the next couple of years, what it looks like, how you see things playing out. And if people listening into this want to follow along with the news, the next key milestone is going to be that PFS. So definitely click on the link below this interview. It takes you right over to the company website, straight to their news section, so you too can follow along as the news hits the wires. And as soon as that does, yeah, Glenn, let's get back together. We'll get you back on. We'll do an update together, and we'll dive in a little deeper at that time.
Chad, thanks so much. I'm glad you reached out on this because I think it's important that you see that change and you recognize it coming to Mexico, and appreciate, that you asked me to comment, and I guess you guessed we'd be watching pretty closely. So you were right. So hopefully this is helpful for not just for Silver Tiger, but for what people start to see for, this is the biggest silver producing country in the world by a mile, by 1,000 miles, 150 million of 800 million primary production in the world is in Mexico. So, if you like silver, it's pretty hard to ignore Mexico. And now we think it's time to start paying attention again.
Well, I appreciate you giving us some color around what you see as a company active in Mexico, and it's going to be good for the whole sector. So let's keep our eyes peeled for what happens with the new administration, and looking forward to our next conversation.
Talk soon on that PFS. Thanks, Shad.